Today, I want to talk you through our backpack system, which is a line that's very dear to my heart, and I spent a lot of time over the years working on it. And we're going to go through all the way from the carbon fiber frame through the two different pack lines we have, the Ultra and the Icon Pro. And then we're going to try to spend a significant amount of time also just talking about using some of the different features, like going through the load sling mode and fitting a pack properly, which is, I mean, your backpack's only as good as the fit of that pack. And so we're going to go through that today, talk about modularity and some different ways that you can use the pack system. So yeah, and then we'll wrap it up with some questions at the end, and that should be it. I appreciate everybody being here and spending your time. Thank you for that, and let's dive right into the carbon fiber frame, which I've got one here without any webbing on it. But when we're trying to decide on a material to use for our backpack system here at KUIU, we wanted to try something that really hadn't been perfected before, which is using carbon fiber as a frame material. And carbon fiber is the material of choice for ultralight applications where you need a lot of flex in the material. You need to be able to have the resiliency in that material to rebound from that flex. It made sense to design a carbon fiber frame. Ultra lightweight, incredibly expensive material, but given our business model here at KUIU, we thought we could bring it to market. So let's talk a little bit. We've got some good video lined up for you guys on some of the materials that are used, which are unique to this frame. And Blaze has got some video of standard carbon fiber being made sheets, and then our spread toe carbon fiber. And so
here goes the
standard. So with a standard carbon fiber bundle or toe, it's usually an elliptical shape, and there can be like 12,000 strands in that. And what happens with that material is that it's actually woven into place. And you can see that on the machine in the video right now. It's weaving that carbon fiber. And that gives you the distinctive look of normal carbon fiber. You see that checkered look. Now,
I'll play that again.
Okay.
Stand by, and again.
So each one of those rolls there has a carbon fiber, basically a toe on it. It's like a fiber in fabric manufacturing. And it's going into that weaving press, and it's being woven above and below each strand. So the problem with that construction is that it creates voids. Every time that material ends up dropping below a strand, it creates voids, and that void ends up getting filled with resin. And resin doesn't provide you with any benefit if it's not attached to the carbon fiber. The carbon fiber, it just adds weight without increasing performance at all. So back in 2016, we actually changed the materials that we use to called a spread toe type of carbon fiber. And Blaze has got a video lined up of how that is produced, and I can talk you through what happens there.
Here we go.
So this is the Shomarat facility, which is back in what state, Blaze?
South Carolina.
In South Carolina. They take that material, what would be that toe of material that may be 12,000 strands, and they'll actually squeeze it flat. And they lay it out onto a sheet. And they also have the ability at that point to take that material and do multiple layers. And you can have a layer that's in one direction, and then you can switch it at a 45-degree angle. And by changing that angle of those sheets, we can increase the performance and change the characteristics of the frame at different locations. And so one of our major sheets on here is actually a 3-ply, one on top that's straight, 45-degree angle, then another one on the bottom. So this is a video of that material being made. And that machine is 200 feet long, right, Blaze?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that material then is sent to our production facility, which is actually here in Sacramento, California, a place called Rocket Composites. And Paul Hewitt over there, I mean, he's been incredible to work with on design for us. And we've got a video of the frames actually being made over at Rocket Composites. This is a video of the material being laid out. The patterns are cut. For the different size frames, we have 3 different size frames. The material is put into a compression mold. And you can see the resin being applied in this video. And the compression mold presses down, it has heat involved. The heat cures the resin and squeezes out as much resin as possible. And with the spread toe carbon fiber that we use, that you now have those contact, you don't have those voids the way the standard carbon fiber has, so we can squeeze out more resin. So this allowed us to make a part that is incredibly strong and keep our weights where we needed them to be. And the video now is going through some of the finishing processes, where they go. There's QC steps involved, very strict QC on weight and all the tolerances. So that's what happens prior to a backpack being shipped over to our facility where they're put together and assembled. So that's an overview of the construction. You have this part, like I said, is complex in terms of there's foam core in here, there's material, the spread toe material at different angles depending on where we want flex in this. And ideally, we want a part that has incredible vertical stiffness. I'm gonna pull the table over, but incredible vertical stiffness, but you want a part that then moves with your body in this direction. So this is gonna provide the load carrying capability, and this is gonna provide the comfort when you're walking, is having this movement. And you just can't do this with another material besides carbon fiber. You can't get aluminum or steel to move in this same way, especially at this kind of weight. So that's the frame. This is the foundation of our system. It's used across both of our pack lines. The same carbon fiber frame is in the Ultras and the Pros. So let's move on to the pack lines, and we'll actually first talk about the Ultra line first. And I've got an Ultra 6000. Right here. So our design intent with the Ultra line was to minimize weight as much as possible. And we did that through really careful choice of our fabrics. The 330 denier fabric here has amazing tear strength, but is incredibly lightweight. We minimize the pocketing. We put in just enough pocketing to be functional. You've still got these external pockets on it, but internally, we use other ways to organize, like our dry bags and things like that. So there's minimal build in these. And we've been able to, on the 6,000 cubic inch bag, this is sub 4 pounds, which if you look at other backpacks in the hunting industry, I mean, they may be 10 pounds. I mean, you're talking the whole weight of a spotting scope and difference, a big spotting scope difference in weight between this bag. And like I said, we're trying to design a bag system that is incredibly light in weight, but still capable of carrying out a heavy load. I mean, you could absolutely, I've done it myself many times, carry out full hindquarters of elk in this. Does an amazing job. And so we offer 3 different size Ultras, and they are a 6,000 cubic inch, that's your 10-dayer, 3,000 cubic inch, you can get a few days out of that, but also it's a really good just large day pack size. And then the 1,800 size, which is a very small pack, and I can talk a little bit later about some of the capabilities of that small pack and that Ultra specifically. The suspension system for the Ultras is relatively low profile, has a nice curvature to it, which some people actually prefer to the Pros. The foam is designed in multi-layer foams with perforated holes inside to keep the weight down. So everything we did here was designed to keep the weight down as much as possible. So let's jump over to the Icon Pros. Next, I want to step back on one item on these packs, and just similar to every product that we make here at KUIU, we choose our materials based on performance and not based on price. So we choose the best materials that we can possibly choose to construct our backpack systems. Cordura fibers, which is an air textured nylon that's incredibly strong, nylon 6.6. You've got YKK zippers, Duraflex buckles throughout all of our pack lines. So choosing the best quality materials. I mean, that's our design philosophy here at KUIU, period. No different in the backpack system, the carbon fiber frame. Best materials that we can possibly source for these packs. So with the Icon Pros, you've got 500 denier Cordura, extensive pocketing in this system, and it's a system that's built lots of features for guys who, or women who want to organize their gear as much as possible on a trip, want the extra durability of the heavier fabrics. The suspension system on this particular pack has a larger contact area, more robust silicone printing here, so it holds up, stays up on your back, heavier padding. So this suspension set in particular is the power pull system on this there is a power pull system on the Ultras also. This is set up a little differently with a pulley system, so really can dig in and get you a nice tight fit on the waist belt. The Pros, let's see how that works to turn this around. Still okay there?
Yep.
So the Pro system, like I said, the large, extensive pocketing throughout, also internally. The larger Pro bags have these external pockets that are great. You can put large optics in here. You can run a gun all the way through this pocket down into, the butt can go all the way down into this pocket down here. A large tripod could go there also. Big horseshoe zip on the 52 and 7200, so you can lay this bag completely open when you're at camp. You have access to all your gear. So really extensive pocketing and organization capabilities here. 7,200 cubic inch, that's your expedition pack, your 10 to 14 dayer. 5,200 cubic inch size, that's your 4 to 6 dayer, somewhere in that range. Maybe squeeze a little more out of it. 3,200 size, awesome large day pack. If you're running big optics, say you're late season, you need to carry more gear with you. If you're carrying gear for another person, 3,200, awesome day pack. And the 1850 Icon Pro is unique in that it can be used with the carbon fiber frame and actually without the carbon fiber frame also. So you can use it just as a day pack with internal stays inside with the suspension system attached directly to the bag. And that's available for purchase as what's called suspension only. So so those are your four sizes of the Pros. That basically covers it for the overview of the packs. And now I'm going to jump into talking about some of the design characteristics, some of the features like the load sling and the modularity of the whole system. And so let's put this back down. I've got a 3200 set up right here so all of our backpacks have the ability for the pack bag to move away from the frame and suspension so that you can carry meat or even gear inside between the pack bag and the frame. And that's, like I said, that's universal across all of our packs. It's important with this system, you've got probably 2,500 cubic inches in there or so. You can definitely get, full alkyne quarter in there, no problem at all. I did want to go over one thing. You'll see when you get a pack shipped to you that there's an extra strap on the stay of the pack. And you guys zoom in on, I don't know if you can zoom in on that. I'll try not to move it around too much. But at this location, you've got an extra strap. That stay is up into this pocket on the bag. And there's an extra strap at that location. When you go into load sling mode, you need to loosen the bottom straps on the pack. The pack bag will come off of the stays and you will engage that strap that's stored at that location. We call it a bridge strap because it then bridges the distance between the load lifter here, goes up through a hole in the top of the stay, and then goes out to the pack bag. So that's really the crux move in terms of getting yourself set up into load sling mode, using that bridge strap to bridge that distance. You can unbuckle all of these. You can lay it completely open to get the meat in there, or a hind quarter, for instance. In terms of strapping everything back down and making sure that the load is being compressed properly, it's very important to keep a tighter fit on the lower end of your meat load over here versus the upper end. And what that does is it presses the bag against the frame. You should never have your big chunk of meat hanging off of the straps in the bottom. If so, you don't have it compressed properly. Take it off, readjust everything. You've literally got 10 compression points all the way around here. You can tighten those down enough to get that meat pressed against that frame and have it not sag. So that's basic overview of the load sling. Like I said, you've got this, every single pack is capable of doing this that we sell. So there's your load sling. Let's talk about modularity of our pack system. And just go without a prop. But so with our system, it's designed so that you can use any of the pack bags interchangeably with the frame and suspension sets. So you can have an Icon Pro suspension, you can put an Ultra bag on it. And likewise, you could have an Ultra suspension, you could put an Icon Pro bag on it. And honestly, one of my favorite setups is to use a Pro suspension and then a set of Ultra bags on there. So if I'm going to somewhere in the backcountry and I know that I'm going to be setting camp for a few days and then going out of there to hunt, I'll typically take a Pro suspension, I'll take a 6,000 bag, and I'll actually take a little 1,800 cubic inch bag, and I'll have my day hunting gear inside that 1,800 cubic inch bag, and then I'll shove that down right into the big cavity of the Ultra 6000. Got all my day hunting gear, it's already organized in my day pack. When I get to camp, I can just pop the big bag out, I can take out that little 1,800 and put it directly on my frame and suspension. And then likewise, I mean, in another scenario, I mean, I love the 3200 Icon Pro as a bag, but I almost always run it with an Ultra suspension. Just I'm typically day hunting in that case. I like the lower profile and feel of that Ultra suspension in that case. But I want the pocketing and the organization of that Icon Pro bag. And then the times that I use the full Icon Pro systems, like an Icon Pro bag, would be when going on a hunt where, say I'm breaking down camp every single day, I'm keeping camp on my back. A lot of your time is spent breaking down, setting up. You want your gear to be as organized as possible. A lot of times that situation also, you want your optics to be very, very available and easy to get to. So in that case, absolutely love the Pro system. And and all that organization is just incredible in that type of situation. And one other thing I want to quickly note on the Pro system is, actually with both of them, but specifically with the Pro, you can take this lid off and there's a compression panel that's built into the shroud. You can take the straps that are on the back of this lid, you can roll the shroud up, and those straps then go to that shroud. You can really easily use this without the lid. So if you're on that type of hunt where you're only taking one pack with you, you need it to work as a big hauler, plus you want it to work as your day pack, get rid of the lid, use that compression panel to use it more as a day pack type of configuration. So I think that covers what I wanted to cover in terms of overview of the two lines. I'm going to have, unless there's anything else you guys can think of, are we good?
One question for
Okay.
you. If you had one pack and you had to use it for every single hunt that you're going on, I know that's tough, what would it be?
Just one without mixing the two systems?
Just one without mixing.
Probably an Icon Pro 5200.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I could do most everything with that pack, and that's one of our best sellers. I mean, a lot of people buy that. But like I said, I have the option to use whatever, so I end up using the Ultras bags a lot on the Pro suspensions, because that's really where the weight difference is. The suspensions between the Pros and the Ultras are actually relatively close together in weight. There's only about a 3 to 4 ounce difference between the two. So there's the weight difference is really in the bag. So the times I mean, weight is critically important when you're in these really tough mountain hunts. And so, knocking the weight down and with a simpler bag is something that I do a lot. So, McKay, do you want to come over and we can talk through fitting of a pack?
Let's do it.
So the first thing to realize, so we have 2 different waist belt sizes that we offer, and the break point's 33 and a half inch range between the two. Smaller than that, you want to go with the small medium. Larger than that, you want to go with the large XL. The problem with the large hip belt on a small waisted guy is you can just bottom it out and then you can't get it tight. So in terms of frame heights, we actually have 3 different frame heights. And they're approximately equivalent to like a 22 inch, a 24 inch, and a 26 inch. And we call our break points, if you are a relatively average build and say under 5'10", I'd say the regular is most likely where you're going to fall between 5'10" and 6 foot to 6'1", then the tall. So McCade here, 6 foot tall, right? And somewhere in that range?
We'll give myself the benefit of the doubt.
Okay,
on that one.
okay.
I'm right there, I'm
I've got
close.
a question on exactly this that's coming in. Dave Sharp is saying, I'm confused as to where to measure on my back to get the correct size frame. Can you address that one for me if you don't get to it in the video?
That's actually a good question.
Yeah, we can add that in, and we can go over how to measure your torso length after you take that off.
Yeah,
Let's do that. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I was just giving you some general guidelines in terms of height, but you have to keep in mind in that situation that everybody's leg length and their torso length is different. The ideal way to do it is to really measure your torso length, and we'll go over and do that. So first thing you want to do is you want to have, say, 20 to 30 pounds in a pack before you try to fit it on yourself. First thing you want to do is get the waist belt tight. And you want to put 100% of that weight onto your hips. And it's very important here. A lot of people wear their hip belt too low on their body. If you feel there's the top of your hip bone, it's called your iliac crest. And that pack hip belt should cup over the top of that iliac crest and it should lock itself into place. So are you feeling that right there?
Yep.
I mean, it should go right over the top of that iliac crest and be like almost squeezing into your soft part of your guts.
Right,
okay? So the next thing you want to do is do the sternum strap. Tighten the sternum strap. And don't go too tight with this because you can completely deform the shape of the
camera for us. We
Okay.
do the same thing.
Yeah. So if you tighten this too much at this point, you can completely deform the shape. So just get it to the point that as you tighten things up, this isn't going to fall off your shoulders. Next thing you want to do is loosen the load lifter straps completely, so there's no pressure here. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting against and limiting your ability to tighten this strap. So then you want to tighten down the shoulder straps. They actually look pretty tight on you already at that point.
Go a little tighter.
Okay. Final thing you want to do is to tighten those load lifter straps. And it's important to not over tighten those. Like I like to just get to the point that there's a little bit of pressure on there. If you have a heavier load, you can add more. Like you've got them overly tight because you're actually causing the shoulder straps to come up on you. And if you can see this, I don't know if there's a close up or.
There, yeah, right there is good.
So ideally, if you have the right height frame, this should be at, say, a 35 to 45 degree angle. And this is called your load lifter strap. And it doesn't technically lift the load, but what it does is it releases the pressure on the top of your shoulders, which is what gets painful over time as you're using it, and it transfers that load all the way around your chest. So you can feel, as you tighten that load lifter, you'll feel the pressure release here, and you'll feel the pressure tighten right there. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that you want to be really careful of with this, why don't you turn sideways one more time? The placement of this load lifter attachment point. Ideally, you want this just forward of, say, the peak of your shoulder right here. It's a little far forward on you right now, and that's why you're getting some of that gapping back there. We should actually take this off, move the shoulder straps down. Why don't you do that just real quick?
Yeah.
And that way we'll show how you can adjust the shoulder strap height. So in this case, that load lifter attachment point was too far forward on him. He had some gapping right here. So we'll want to take and move the Velcro, disengage the Velcro, slide it down. The shear strength on this attachment point is provided by the Velcro, and we use a special type of Velcro that's a polyester Velcro that has a higher shear strength. And then there's a T-lock plastic part that goes into the frame back here that keeps it from shearing off the Velcro. So let's put that back on you. Concerned I might have gone a little too far, but we'll see where it falls on you now.
Test her out and see.
Yeah. So same procedure, hip belt, and you want to carry 70% of your weight or so on your hips. So initially when you fit it, put 100% there, tighten these up so you get maybe 30% of that weight now back on your shoulders. That's closer. You can maybe go down actually a little bit further on. I mean, you got pretty long legs, a relatively short torso for your height. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, this maybe should be there ideally, but that's basically, I mean, that's a pretty good fit. At that point, you've got a good load lifter angle. It's really functional. It's important to have this angle here and your whole load behind your back, because it makes a massive difference in how comfortable it is to carry weight. If you get weight low on your back and far away from your body, it pulls over just like a fulcrum. I mean, it's pulling you back. And so, I mean, this setup will maximize basically your comfort. And then you can adjust the tension of this load lifter depending on, you know, how your shoulders are feeling if you're carrying really heavy weights. I mean, you shouldn't need to adjust it much. I almost never adjust it when I have, you know, 45 pound, 30 to 45, whatever I'm, you know, running as my normal, just carry weight. But yeah, so that's, sometimes when you get, you know, 100 plus pounds on there, then you need to start adjusting a few things. One thing I'm going to quickly go over is don't forget the load stabilizer strap right here, especially if you've had to put the pack into load sling mode. You actually need to loosen up on these. So this should be the very last thing that you adjust and tighten up. You should have this actually, the load stabilizer actually loose when you first put the hip belt on, and it should be the very last thing that you tighten up. Especially, like I said, after you've filled the bag or if you put something into the load sling here, what happens is if this is overly tight, you get the lumbar pads sticking into your back and you can't get a good wrap of the hip belt. That'll make it extremely uncomfortable, give you a lot of lumbar pain. So having, making sure that you loosen that up, and then the final thing you want to do is tighten that up, and that's pulls that whole pack bag up onto the hip belt, stabilizes the load. So
perfect.
You're dialed, dude.
Awesome.
Nice.
Steve Hallmark is asking, what size meat bag is that?
That's probably a medium.
That's the medium. Yep.
Yeah. Which is designed to fill that size really well with a large Fresnel quarter or something. If you tried to buy boned out meat in a large, for instance, it's going to be falling all over the place. So yeah, this medium size quarter bag or like the XL size roll top dry bag are probably the perfect size to fill that load sling.
Awesome.
So
let's measure McCade's back.
oh,
Yeah.
That's right. Got it. So to get a torso length measurement, what you first want to do is find that iliac crest, so find that point where the top of your hip bone is, and you want to cup that with your hands like this, and rotate your hands kind of around the back. So this is like sitting right on the top of that hip bone, and you want to draw a line from your thumbs like straight across to that point right there. So that's the height of your hip bone or your iliac crest. And then you want to measure up to what's called the C6, C7 vertebrae. So if you tilt your head forward, you can feel one vertebrae that really sticks out. And McCade's an anatomical disaster because I can't find it. But it's about right there. So you would measure that distance right there, and that would be your torso length. On most people, that C6, C7 vertebrae really sticks out. You can see it on me, but that's how you measure. So you're basically drawing a line from the top of your iliac crest across and then up to that C6, C7 vertebrae. So look at the sizing guidelines on the website, and you guys should be able to figure out. And then definitely when you get the pack at home, put some weight in it, test it out, make sure you get it fitted just like we showed here. Make sure you have a functional load lifter angle before you take it out and really abuse it.
Sounds good.
So yeah, give yourself some time before the season, before your hunts, get the pack in, work through adjusting it correctly, getting, all that. So
Josh Sumner is asking, what is the fix if the lumbar support is not comfortable? Icon Pro 1850. It would apply to all of them.
yeah. So the lumbar support, if it's too much to begin with, it will break down over time. One thing you want to be careful of is not having those load stabilizer straps too tight. Like I said, that can pull that lumbar right into your back. It will soften over time. If you have the opposite problem, there's a lot of guys who actually like more lumbar pressure, and we actually sell each pack with a shim that you can put in there and basically build up that lumbar. And it's important to have some lumbar pressure on a pack because we've actually tested out multiple versions of our packs with a less aggressive lumbar, and the hip belt really sags down on your butt and doesn't hold the weight up high. And so it's important to have some good lumbar pressure there and to be pressing that silicone print into your back. Another question?
Yep. Brian Ratcliffe, do you have a pack that will accommodate a holster for a pistol on the belt? Most packs have large belts with a pocket, which makes packing a pistol impossible.
Yes, this one's easy to answer. And we'll cover this. I think we're going to do another one of these where we actually go over all of the pack accessories. But our hip belt was specifically designed with, you can zoom in on, let me see if I can turn it here. So this strap right here is completely removable, and it's also, you can open it up and you can slide a gun on. So you can take this hip belt pocket off, and then you would just have, that's actually the base configuration the way this is sold, would be the hip belt, and then would have this 1.5 inch webbing strap. And you can put bear spray on there, you can put gun spray, you can put our rangefinder holder, or I use it as a camera case, will fit right here. I can actually get my 44 mag in this location right here behind this pocket, especially if I shift that pocket up a little bit, and I'll carry it right there. Having this completely removable, you can also run just a completely clean strap. If you don't want, if it bugs you to have your arms hitting the hip belt pocket, you can run this thing completely clean. So you can do anything you want here, and you can carry any accessory, basically, at that location.
Let's answer a couple questions coming in from Instagram. This one came in from Matthew_Davis24, and he asked, what pack do you recommend on a DIY moose hunt? I think that's going to be hard not knowing the days, but let's say it's a 7-dayer.
A DIY moose hunt, I would probably take the Icon Pro 7200 in that case. We have, depending on the size of the bull, we have had full moose hindquarters actually inside of that bag before. It would just be, I think it would be good to have the more robust system on a moose hunt. Typically on a moose hunt, you've got some kind of big freighter pack or something like that for packing. But hell, there's guys doing it every year, multiple times a year. I'm going moose hunting next year. I'm planning on doing all my packing with our packs. So yeah, it's I know they can do it, no problem at all. Yeah. Next question.
This one came in from G.Malone43, and he asked, for hike-in day hunts, do you recommend carrying camp on a load shelf with 1850 or 3200 Icon pack, or do you think it's better? Or do you think your way of packing the day pack is better?
So, if I'm doing it was just hike-in like on day hunts, or was you going? Repeat the question one more time.
Yeah, let's see.
I think he means setting a spike camp.
Okay, so
exactly.
if I'm doing my preference, if I'm doing just 1 to 2 nights out, is to use one of the 3,000 cubic inch. That would be either the Ultra or the 3200 Pro, and I can get all my gear in there. And depending on how cold it is, how much gear I have, how big my optics are. Sometimes I use like one of our pack accessory pouches to put food on the outside, for instance. Or there's some different ways you can configure it, and we can go over that on another live feed at another time. But yeah, 3,000 to 3,200 would be my choice for that situation, definitely. Next.
Let's see. What about a pack system for a 5-day mule deer hunt? And that came in from Josh.czYZ.
So mule deer hunts, I almost always end up using the ultra packs. Just you're typically, I mean, a lot of times on a mule deer hunt, I mean, you're covering, huge elevation gain, can be in some really gnarly country. That's the time when I really pay attention to weight. And if, like I said, if in that situation, if I'm going in and I'm setting a spike camp, for instance, I will use like a big 6,000 and bring a smaller day pack along with me. But yeah, usually I end up going with the ultras for a mule deer type of hunt.
This question came in a couple times actually, once on Facebook and once on Instagram. And it was, what are the straps/buckles right on top of the frame stays? I think it means the bridge straps.
Yeah, so that's, we already covered that. So those are these straps, and there's just, when we ship you the pack, they're just stored at that location. They're shoved into that pocket. You can take them out and put them in an internal pocket if you want. I just leave mine there, and then it's there when I need it. So yeah, they're just stored at that location. So it's really important, like I said, when you set that up, frame stay comes out of that pocket, bridge strap gets engaged, and then what I see guys doing a lot, it's really important to re-engage it properly. So remember that your load lifter on the larger bags from 3,200 or 3,000 up in size, this load lifter buckle right here needs to be attached to your pack bag. Don't put it back into the frame pocket like this, because there's nothing that's going to support the back end of that, and that'll just slide out and you won't have any functional load lifters at that point.
This question comes in a lot, and this one came in from Mission, Alaska on Instagram, and they asked, how do you keep the pockets on the bag from coming off the posts?
That's a really good question also, and we see this as with the latest version of the packs, we've changed all of the attachment points on the back end to buckles, but previously they just attached to webbing loops. So it's really important that what's called the bag attachment strap, which is this strap that comes off of the hip belt and goes up to the bag, it needs to be attached to the webbing loop that's like 4 inches up the back of the bag and not to this one. If it's attached to this one, especially with a regular size frame, there's nothing that's pulling that frame into that pocket. So I hope that's clear and answers that question.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more. And this one came in from Dakota Ewart. And he asked, what is the main difference between the Icon Pro and Ultra Pack line?
Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of differences, and a lot of them are hard to see, but it's all the way down to fabrics, the seam construction, the pocketing, the internal foam structure. There's a lot of things that make it different. Like I said, the Ultra's designed to be as light as we could possibly make it, but still have a pack that was capable of carrying heavy loads. The Ultras, that's more your Cadillac line. I mean, you got lots of pocketing for organization, heavier duty fabrics, larger contact area of the whole suspension system, bigger foam. I mean, it's just a more robustly built system in general. So it's a choice between the kind of hunts you're doing, whether weight savings is really important, or whether you want to have the ability to really organize your gear. And so hopefully that answers that question.
Perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, guys. That was actually fun. I really appreciate all your guys' time. And we're going to start doing this more regularly. And if you guys have any suggestions on topics to cover, hit McCade up with a direct message on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll cover the items that you guys want to cover, and happy to share with you guys. Transparency is our deal here, right? I mean, we're willing to talk about all of the materials in our system, in our clothing, in our packs, because we don't have anything to hide. I mean, we use the best that we can possibly source anywhere. So that's it, and thank you all for your time. And hey, one thing also, I mean, if you guys give feedback for product development or the design group, I read it all, and I love to see it. And we try to incorporate and evolve our products and improve them as much as we can. So, I mean, keep sending those things into customer service. They get to me. I read them. I read them all. Things that go into warranty, stuff like, that's all gets back. And believe me, your voice is being heard on all of that. So thank you very much. It was fun hosting today, and that's a wrap.